Hey, everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope. Some big news. Big news in WWE coming from Fightful Select, reportedly from Sean Ross Sapp and his great staff over there. They're reporting that Stone Cold Steve Austin was telling people at WrestleMania 41 that he may still have one more match left in him. And we're presuming, and listen, anybody who knows anything about professional wrestling knows there's one match for Stone Cold Steve Austin to come back and do at this stage of his life. It is against CM Punk. And there's a lot of reasons tied into that. One of them being, if you guys remember back to that fateful pipe bomb promo, ironically, which was in Las Vegas for almost 14 years ago to the day, what shirt was CM Punk wearing? He was wearing a Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt. This has been a dream match that has been talked about almost as long as Rock and Roman Reigns. And we thought we'd never get it. Even when Stone Cold Steve Austin came back to WWE and wrestled a match with Kevin Owens at WrestleMania 38 in that impromptu match where he showed up on the KO show and then, had that sort of, I think it was like a street fight or a no holds barred match in the main event of night one of WrestleMania. CM Punk was still in another company. He literally had just joined AEW. He had just got back in, this was before, all of the stuff went haywire in AEW. So nobody thought that this was even possible. But I'm here to tell you, listen, you guys can try and get at me in the comments here and tell me that I'm wrong. Is there anybody else on the roster that you would want to see Stone Cold Steve Austin go up against at this point? Seth Rollins, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Randy Orton, I mean, some people are sheepishly saying, hey, let's do Stone Cold and The Rock 4. I don't want to see that. We saw them do 3 matches at 15, 17, and 19. I don't want to see Rock and Stone Cold face each other in a match again. I just don't want to see that. Roman Reigns, no. There's no story there. There's nothing there. John Cena is going to be retired by the time we get to next WrestleMania. So that's off the table. That would have been a potentially good option. I just don't see another option. Gunther, but Gunther's facing Goldberg, and that's a little bit of a different dynamic. I think there's just, because the promo battles would be epic between those two. There's a ton of history there. This match has been talked about in IWC and just wrestling communities all over the place for years that they wanted to see this match happen. So if there is even the slightest possibility that Stone Cold Steve Austin could come back and wrestle a match, to me, there's only one option. It has to be Stone Cold and CM Punk. And if it happens at WrestleMania 42, that is a hell of an idea. Because if CM Punk isn't facing Cody Rhodes, and frankly, I don't know if CM Punk's going to win the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia next year. I think Sami Zayn is an early favorite to win that match as of right now. I think Sami Zayn is a early favorite to potentially win the Royal Rumble in 2026. So if Punk's not winning the Rumble, then what else are you going to do for him at WrestleMania next year? It's like, are you going to have him face the world champion, and get him another path there, or are you going to have him face off in an attraction type match? Listen, Stone Cold Steve Austin does not have. Listen, he's still in great health, but when you say something like this, you go and do it immediately if there's even a possibility of it happening. So for me, listen, there's other wrestlers on this roster with a build that you could potentially make Stone Cold's last opponent. But listen, there's only one guy who I think I could honest to God buy into, and we'd have a story, and then you'd have the two of them barking at each other in the microphone. And CM Punk, for even at his advanced age, I guess you could say, is not that he still has been one of the best in the world. He really has. So what's wild to me in thinking about this, and we could probably flesh this out in another video, is that there's the possibility that we could potentially be looking at CM Punk and Stone Cold Steve Austin happening at WrestleMania 42. And who knows, maybe if things go the right way, Rock and Roman Reigns could finally face each other. I think they missed their best opportunity. But I'm here to tell you, man, if CM Punk and Stone Cold Steve Austin happens before Rock Roman Reigns, that's embarrassing. And there's only one person you point the finger at for that. That's at Dwayne. That's at The Rock. Because The Rock has had over a decade to get this match done. Over a decade to get this match done. Everybody wants to say that WrestleMania 40 got screwed up because of Cody Rhodes, because they had built the story and The Rock came in late and basically said, hey, I want to do it. And the timing didn't match up. And he could have done it the previous 2 years before, but he didn't want to. And then at 41, he had a golden opportunity with a lot of story coming out of WrestleMania 40 with a lot of the great builds, and it got completely undone because he didn't want to show up. He wanted to do the sell your soul thing with John Cena, and then nothing happened out of it. So, listen, it's crazy that all these guys are kind of interwoven together. Roman, Punk, Stone Cold, and Roman, Punk, and then Stone Cold and The Rock. Great rivalries. And, hey, Roman Punk could potentially be a WrestleMania match in itself, too. They just had a triple threat with Seth Rollins this year, so that's an interesting element of this. But, man, Rock and Roman should happen by now. Stone Cold and Punk, we thought would never happen because CM Punk left in 2014. Stone Cold had not wrestled in a match since 2003. Punk is gone, and then in the calendar year that he came back, Stone Cold wrestled a match at WrestleMania against Kevin Owens. And there was a glimmer of hope that maybe this could potentially happen, but nobody thought that CM Punk was ever going to come back to WWE. Then everything blew up in AEW, and here we are. And what's wild to think is you take out the John Cena matches that The Rock did at 28 and 29, you take out those two matches that he did at 28 and 29 with John Cena, he's got one singles match, and it was against Eric Rowan at WrestleMania 32. Listen, Stone Cold was in bad shape at WrestleMania 19. The fact that he's been able to wrestle a match and wrestle it at the age that he did is pretty incredible. So I'm just looking at this, and like I said, I'll flesh this out in another video because listen, there is only one option here. There is only one option for Stone Cold to potentially face anybody at this, at whether it's 42 or 43. And I think if they're going to do it, they're going to do it as quickly as they can. CM Punk is the only opponent for Stone Cold Steve Austin to come back for. There's nobody else that even makes a remote amount of sense. And then extending that, which I'll talk about in a little bit. If this happens before Rock Roman Reigns, that's just an embarrassment. That is a complete embarrassment to Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And in a lot of ways, it's all on him for really embarrassing this wrestling industry the last couple of years with the way that he's thrown his weight around and then not gotten what he wanted and then completely screwed up WrestleMania 41 with the way that he kind of hamstrung a lot of it, and he's kind of hamstrung a lot of the plans that they initially had. You mean to tell me Stone Cold Steve Austin can come right back in, go face CM Punk in a dream match that nobody ever thought he could before The Rock faces Roman Reigns when they had every bit of resource and ample opportunity? The only two years that this match couldn't have happened since WrestleMania 31, the only 2 years that this match could have not happened was 36 and 37 because that was COVID. Outside of that, they could have done it at 32. They could have done it at 33. They could have done it at 34. They could have done it at 35. They could have done it at 38, which was very public that they were close. They could have done it in LA at WrestleMania 39. They could have done it at 40. That was a unique excuse because, hey, if The Rock would have let them know, hey, I want to do this now, and they didn't give Cody a damn Rumble win, maybe things would have looked differently. And then they absolutely 1,000% the best time to do it was last year. Or this past WrestleMania at WrestleMania 41. That was the best point to do it. And the fact that it didn't happen, and now Rock's biggest rival may come back in and face CM Punk in a match that nobody thought was even possible 10 years ago, is insane to me. So we'll talk about that and just that element of this whole story. But again, Punk and Stone Cold is the only answer for Stone Cold's potentially last match. And it should happen at WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas if Stone Cold's up for it. And this is all true. So we'll see. Anyway, I'll see you guys. Bye-bye.